There are moments when the illusion of control does not collapse all at once, but fractures slowly, almost invisibly, like glass under pressure, until the person standing at the center of it realizes too late that every step they took forward was actually guiding them deeper into a design they did not create. And this is where Phyllis now finds herself, standing at the edge of a truth she cannot rewrite, a truth that does not bend to her will, a truth that exposes not only what has been done to her, but what she has done to herself, through years of believing she could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast anyone who dared to challenge her. For Phyllis, control has never been just a strategy, it has been identity, a way of navigating a world she has never fully trusted, a shield against vulnerability, against chaos, against the unpredictable nature of people who do not follow the rules she understands. Every move she has made, every manipulation, every calculated risk, has reinforced that identity, has proven to her that she is not just a player in the game, but the one who defines it. But what she fails to recognize, what she refuses to even consider, is that the very patterns she relies on, the instincts she trusts without question, have become predictable, not because she is weak, but because she is consistent, and consistency, in the hands of someone patient enough to study it, becomes a roadmap. Adam is the first to understand this, not because he is fundamentally different from Phyllis, but because he has walked a similar path, has lived inside that same mindset where control is everything, where weakness is unacceptable, where every interaction is an opportunity to gain an advantage. But unlike Phyllis, Adam has learned something she has not, that control is not about always being ahead, but about knowing when to step back, when to let someone else believe they are ahead, when to create space for them to reveal their own strategy without realizing they are doing so. That shift in perspective is what allows him to approach Phyllis not as an opponent to be confronted, but as a system to be understood, analyzed, and ultimately redirected. Nick's role in this is more complex, more conflicted, because his history with Phyllis is not defined by pure opposition, but by a tangled web of trust, betrayal, connection, and disappointment that has never fully resolved. There is a part of him that still recognizes the person she was, the person she could be, the version of her that does not need to control everything in order to survive, but that part is buried beneath layers of frustration, of repeated cycles where hope has been replaced by inevitability, where every attempt to believe in her has ended in the same outcome: manipulation, secrecy, and damage that cannot be undone. When Adam approaches Nick with the idea of working together, it is not presented as a partnership built on trust, but as a necessity, a recognition that Phyllis has reached a point where her actions are no longer just self-serving, but destabilizing, creating consequences that extend beyond her immediate circle and into spaces that neither of them can afford to ignore. Nick resists at first, not because he disagrees, but because he understands the implications, the cost of aligning himself with Adam, the risk of becoming something he has always tried to avoid. But eventually, the logic becomes undeniable, and what begins as hesitation transforms into reluctant acceptance, not because he wants to take Phyllis down, but because he believes there is no other way to stop what she has set in motion. The plan they construct is not built on confrontation, but on redirection, on allowing Phyllis to continue doing exactly what she has always done, making moves, gathering information, manipulating outcomes, while subtly altering the environment around her, so that those moves no longer lead where she expects them to. The calls she receives are not random, but carefully timed, designed to provoke specific reactions, to guide her attention in particular directions, to reinforce the illusion that she is uncovering something valuable when in reality she is being led. The witnesses are the most critical element, not because they lie, but because they tell the truth in a way that has been framed, positioned, and supported by just enough context to create a narrative that feels undeniable. Adam understands that the most effective deception is not built on falsehood, but on selective truth, on presenting information in a way that leads to a specific conclusion without ever needing to fabricate it entirely. And as each witness steps forward, as each piece of evidence aligns, the story begins to take shape, not as something imposed on Phyllis, but as something that appears to emerge naturally from the facts themselves. At first, Phyllis resists the shift, pushing back against it with the same confidence that has carried her through countless confrontations. convinced that if she can just find the right angle, the right leverage point, she can dismantle what is forming around her. She retraces her steps, re-examines the calls, the interactions, the timing, searching for the flaw, the inconsistency, the piece that does not fit, but what she finds instead is something far more unsettling, a pattern that is too consistent, too precise, too intentional to be coincidence. The realization does not come all at once, but in fragments, small moments where something does not align with her expectations, where a detail feels slightly off, where a reaction from someone else does not match the outcome she anticipated. Each fragment on its own is not enough to confirm anything, but together they form a picture she cannot ignore, a picture that suggests she is not leading this situation, but following it, responding to it, reacting within a framework she did not create. When the truth finally crystallizes, it hits with a force that is both intellectual and emotional, because it is not just about understanding what has happened, but about confronting what it means, about accepting that she has been outmaneuvered, not by a single move, but by a series of calculated decisions made by two people she believed she understood completely. The anger that follows is immediate and overwhelming, directed outward at Adam and Nick, but also inward, at the part of herself that allowed this to happen, that underestimated them, that believed she could not be predicted. Adam does not react to that anger, does not engage with it, because for him, the emotional aspect of this confrontation is irrelevant, a distraction from the objective he has already achieved. He watches as the realization settles in, as the structure of Phyllis's control collapses, not with satisfaction, but with a sense of completion, as if this was always the inevitable outcome once the plan was set in motion. Nick, however, feels the weight of it differently, because for him, this is not just a strategic victory, but a personal one, and that makes it far more complicated, far more difficult to process. There is no triumph in his expression, no sense of having won, only a quiet acknowledgement that something has ended, that a line has been crossed that cannot be uncrossed, that whatever relationship he once had with Phyllis has been fundamentally altered in a way that cannot be repaired. For Phyllis, the moment becomes something else entirely, not just a loss of control, but a loss of certainty, a disruption of the identity she has built for herself over years of surviving, of fighting, of refusing to be the one who loses. She is no longer the one dictating the outcome, no longer the one shaping the narrative, no longer the one who can rely on instinct to guide her out of danger. And in that void, in that absence of control, something darker begins to take shape, not defeat, but transformation. Because if there is one thing Phyllis has never been, it is passive. The realization that she has been trapped does not end her, it changes her, forces her to adapt in ways she has never needed to before, to consider options she would have once dismissed, to embrace a level of unpredictability that even Adam may not have accounted for. The trap may have closed, the game may have shifted, but the outcome is not yet final, because Phyllis is still there, still thinking, still searching, still refusing to accept that this is where her story ends. And that is where the true danger lies. Not in the plan Adam and Nick have executed, not in the control they have taken, but in what comes next, in how Phyllis responds to a situation where she has nothing left to protect, nothing left to lose, and everything left to prove. Because a person who has been cornered, who has been stripped of control, who has been forced to confront their own vulnerability, does not simply disappear. They evolve, and when they do, they become something far more unpredictable, far more dangerous than anything that came before.